Mark here from Rock and Load. This afternoon, I am joined by Tim Fogg of American pop punk band TellTale, all the way from Richmond, Virginia. How you doing, Tim? How you doing, man?
I'm good, Mark. Appreciate you having us on.
No, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So, for anybody who's unfamiliar with TellTale, tell us a little bit of the history of the band.
Yeah, TellTale, like you mentioned, we're from Richmond, Virginia. We first formed in like 2017 after a bunch of the local bands in the area kind of disbanded. A lot of us are childhood friends, but we've have a couple of records out. Put out Timeless Youth in 2019 through Sharp Tone, and then we have Lie Your Way Out coming out here soon through Rude. Just been touring in support of pretty much all of our music recently, and just trying to play in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah. And you say you just recently formed roughly in 2017 then?
Yeah, 2017. And then we started touring pretty heavily towards the end of 2018. So right around then, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys all came from different bands then into TellTale?
Yeah, we all came from different local bands. Bryce and Travis, our drummer and guitarist, they were in this one local band, and then myself and John, the vocalist, came from two other local bands that we all disbanded at the same time, and then like we had all been playing shows together for a while, and it just made sense. And then when we kind of got in the room together, it just kind of took off. So I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. And did you guys all come from bands of similar genres?
Actually not really. I used to play in more of like a classical rock type band, or like an alt rock band. Travis and Bryce used to play more of like a punk band, I guess. And then John was actually in a metalcore band, and he is actually a pretty good, like, I guess, like unclean vocalist.
Yeah.
And then kind of developed his like cleaner chops later on. But yeah, all came from like kind of different backgrounds that kind of made it unique.
Yeah. And you were saying you guys originally were like childhood friends from years ago?
Yeah. Bryce and Travis have grown up. I live like right down the street from them, and then we all kind of met John in college. We've all known each other for a while and have just been playing shows like since we're in like high school and stuff together.
And you guys are all then from Richmond, Virginia. So what's Richmond, Virginia like to grow up in?
I always say it's like the smallest big town you can kind of go, and I think there's about like 200,000 people here. So yeah. But it's like I don't know, you can always like kind of go out to a bar or something and see like a friend, which is, I think, pretty unique in like a bigger metropolitan area, but it's also enough distance that you can avoid people if you want to. So which I try sometimes, but it's pretty cool. I really enjoy living here. It's 2 hours to like the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. It's 2 hours to the mountains, and then it's 2 hours up to DC if you want to go check out some museums or something. So I really enjoy living here, and I've been here my whole life, so it's been pretty fun.
And what about your musical journey yourself then? So what started you sort of getting your interest in music, and who was it that piqued your interest?
Yeah. So my dad honestly kind of piqued my interest. He actually used to be a promoter back in like the 70s and 80s. He booked like George Thorogood, Joan Jett when she was first coming up, and just a couple different artists like that. So I've always kind of been around classic rock my whole life. For me personally, the first record I ever bought was Meteora by Linkin Park. Just one of my favorite bands, and I think just that mix of new metal really like kind of triggered like just an interest in music for me. So I started playing guitar I think when I was about 12, right after Guitar Hero had come out, actually. So that I heard AFI, like Miss Murder specifically was one song that I really loved, and then I just went to Guitar Center, bought probably the cheapest guitar they had, and just picked along to some Ramones songs, some Blink-182 songs, and just learned from there, and then just kept trying to progress. Started learning some Guns N' Roses, and then just kind of progressed from there. But overall, probably like my dad, I would say, had the biggest like impact.
And when did you start sort of progressing then into playing in bands?
Um, so I wasn't very good, obviously, when I first started learning. I didn't really form anything for a while. I probably like 16 or 17 was when I first joined like my first band. Our keyboard, or we had a keyboard player who was actually like the drummer. So they have like this electronic kit on the like electronic drum kit on his keyboard thing, and we didn't have like room or money for like a drum kit, so he would like play along using like keyboard keys and like pick out like it was dumb, but we had two bass players too, so it was just really like nobody really knew what they were doing. So it was a good time. And then yeah, after that just kept like writing music and kind of progressing like that. So
when did you decide to switch across to the bass?
I had been playing I'd been playing guitar like I mentioned, like since I was about like 12 or 13. And honestly, the only reason I switched over to bass was just because that was like a need for like this band, I guess.
Yeah.
So like Bryce is the better guitarist than I am. So it was just kind of like whatever fit. And I was like, I'll play bass, that's fun. And I had been playing a little bit actually at my like local church just to like just play out and whatnot. So I had just been, meddling around on that. And then kind of once the TellTale stuff took off, I stopped doing that and just pretty much focused only on the bass for this band. So.
And how have you found that transition then from that instrument? Like, do you get creative on the bass, or do you try and keep it sort of following the overall bass lines of the song? Or
yeah, that's actually a good question. So in our studio recordings, I don't really do too much out of like the pocket. I normally just kind of follow whatever kind of fits the song. But when we play live, I actually play like almost a completely different part just to keep it like more interesting for me. So just coming from like that guitar like kind of background, there's always, I feel like, things you can add in like live that just make it more interesting every night. So you're not playing like the same like couple notes like over and over. So I always like will be just adding something new, like whether it be like one note or like a slide or something, like every show we play actually, just to like try stuff out and kind of see like, oh, that actually feels like a lot better. So yeah, like a lot of like the songs that we have out, like some of those bass lines aren't necessarily what I play live, which is kind of funny, but it definitely just makes it more interesting to kind of have like a dumb down part for the like the recording and then kind of like make it my own later on. So
yeah. And you guys dropped an EP back in 2017, not long after the band had formed then. So was that just stuff that just guys started writing right away, or was it stuff somebody brought into the band?
Yeah, that was stuff that we all had like written together. The Good Intentions EP. That's a bit like more of I feel like that one's like a bit more like post-hardcore. It's a little bit has a little bit more unclean, not as like that pop punk sound, but I think we were just trying to figure out kind of like the direction we wanted to go. Wanted to mix like counterparts almost with like Boston Manor or something, and I think that's kind of what came out with that. But yeah, as we've like polished our sound, I think it's been kind of clear like how we're moving in more of like a rock direction. So yeah, that record, it all kind of just came together, like got in the studio, and it just kind of like one riff led to another, and next thing you know, somebody's John singing the vocal melody over the song, and it just works out. So it was a good time.
Organic process. And
yeah.
Did any of you guys have any sort of relative success in any of your bands before TellTale, or was it just more local scene success?
I'd say it's more local scene success, but yeah, Bryce and Travis were in this band called Kept at Bay, based out of Richmond, and they were drawing some like a good amount of kids like to shows at the very end of their kind of run. They were probably like one of the bigger bands in the area at the time. They could probably do like 300 or 400 tickets, honestly, like at the local shows. So I mean, they were pulling kids out, and the kids are excited to come out to the shows. And then they just had a couple things go awry, and they were suddenly free agents. So but yeah, they were they were kind of doing it. So
Yeah. And did the fan base transfer across to TellTale as well?
Somewhat, yeah. They were able to get a couple, like I'd say it was probably like a 50-50 split. Like the Richmond scene's really supportive. So we were able to regain a lot of those like people that used to come out to shows and everything. Um, and then I like promote like I used to promote like local DIY shows too. So we were able to just keep like that kind of organic like community together, and just it's nice to have like that support from the local area.
You pulling on your father's knowledge from the previous experiences?
Yeah, he's always giving me tips like, why don't you do this and do that? I'm like, well, that's not exactly how it works anymore. So
Yeah.
it's a bit more, I don't know. He was booking some cool artists though for sure, and like kind of like running radio ads and all that type of thing. I don't really do all that with the social media age, so
Yeah.
certainly interesting.
And so, like, I've always been curious about the American scene because obviously the country is massive. So, like,
Yeah.
as a young band, how do you approach, building your audience and going step by step? Like, what do you have to do? What are the stages for you guys to try and branch out and build the audience?
Yeah. So the way that I found that we've kind of been successful is I will either we'll do show swaps with like other bands that are like regional in the area um, that draw really well, or I'll find promoters that I'll help like say there's someone in Chicago that I know does really good local shows or something. I'll have them send me over like a tour they're working on or something. And it'll just be like an organic, I guess, like just a swap of like I'm helping them out, they're helping me out. And so once we started touring and everything, I was able to use like all the connections that I had made through like the DIY scene and just like booking artists and for various shows here in Richmond, and it made like booking tours and just kind of reaching out and finding like new homes and other scenes a lot better. So I have like a list of like a database of just different promoters and different bands that we're friendly with, that it just makes like going out on tour like a little bit easier when you don't have like a major booking agent or something like that. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably how.
And is that all done literally by yourself, or is there like a physical database out there that you can pull on that has, say, a list of promoters in different cities or different states?
There is actually, yeah, there's one you can get on this Facebook group called DIY Tour Postings, I believe. And it's a little bit outdated, but if you go through there and you can kind of search like who's booking shows in what areas, it's like on there. But I found like the best way is just to target like a couple, like one or two people in a specific scene, or like one or two bands, reach out and just kind of be friendly with them, and then you just build a relationship. Normally I'd just book whatever band someone's in or somebody manages or whatever in Richmond at like a DIY spot. We have like really cool house venues here, and then just smaller breweries and bars and stuff. So just making sure they have a good show the first time in town, and then if everything goes well, then I kind of like push my luck, and I'm like, all right, so let's see what we can get going here for like next next spring or something like that. And then it just kind of builds like that, and was able to develop like a pretty cool like community of people, and that I can reach out to whenever we want to like go out and do some shows.
Yeah. And what's the sort of average age group of the guys in the band?
We're all around 25.
25. And I'm assuming then obviously your generation, you've grown up really in the social media generation, and as it is, so probably the aspect of building a fan base and that interaction with fans through social media has been really important as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think Twitter, and we've been pretty good with Twitter and Facebook as far as like kind of developing fans. I know TikTok's like a new thing, but I don't understand TikTok, unfortunately. So literally everyone I've talked to recently says we better figure it out and just
start learning some dances.
Start dancing to like, I don't know, some song or something. And I don't know, I just prefer like, I think the best way to like grow a fan base is just to like play out and just, meet people face to face. But that's obviously been limited with, like the pandemic and everything. So, yeah, we're just going to keep, building on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and then eventually TikTok to kind of help out. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the new EP you talked about there, Lie Your Way Out, drops March 25th, courtesy of Rude Records. How did the Rude Records connection come about?
Yeah. So back in 2019, we toured with this band called Happy. They're also on Rude, and they're based out of South Carolina. And I had been friends with their singer Tate actually from my previous band. We had gone down to and played a show with them in the Carolinas at some point, I think in 2016, and had just been friends ever since. Just kept in contact and did that tour together. And then, fast forward to after we were kind of wrapped up with Sharpton, then we were just reaching out to some friends like, hey, how do you like your, label connections, and who would you recommend? And I had asked him about how he felt about Rude. He's like, yeah, he spoke really highly of him and definitely recommended him. So we shot them an email with our the demos and stuff we had been working on, and Federico got back to us super quickly and was like, yeah, we're definitely interested. Let's set up a call and kind of see what your goals are. So yeah, I don't think without Tate we would have been able to make it happen, but it was definitely a really just organic process to switch over to the Rude team, and we've been having a really great experience so far, so definitely appreciative of it.
Yeah. And where was the new EP recorded?
We recorded it with Zach Jones out in LA. He also did Our Timeless Youth album, but he was out in Williamsburg, Virginia at the time, and then he started recording some bigger bands and was able to move out there and start working on some bigger projects. So we just flew out to him. He's like a fifth member essentially of our band. He used to play in this metalcore band called My Enemies and I, and he just brings this really cool dark perspective that you can kind of hear in our music, I feel. So he's just someone we love working with, and it's just really easy.
Yeah, it's as you say, that sort of fifth member of the band thing, because some bands go back to the same people all the time because they just absolutely put their faith and trust in them, and then some people like the challenge of working with somebody new because it draws something new out of them, but you sort of go for the trusted tried method. Yeah,
we just like him a lot. I mean, he just kind of reaches into different parts of our, we're all from the same area, and it's just nice to I don't know, he kind of gets where we're coming from and can pull out different elements and stuff, and he really cares about our music and us as people, so it just makes it feel a lot better to work with someone that really cares, whether you actually are putting out a good product or not. So he's awesome.
And do you like the recording studio environment?
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. I think it can be stressful at times, just to be able to come up with ideas on the fly. But our band is a little bit unique in that everyone writes different parts of songs, or will bring something different to the table for every song. So when we're in the studio, literally everyone will have an idea about a drum part, a guitar thing, a lick, a melody, something. So you kind of have to always be engaged with everything and just kind of be creatively thinking. So I'd say, yeah, it can be stressful at times, but I think at the end of the day, it's fun to just, get some new ideas out of your brain, and it's almost like therapy. So
yeah,
it's pretty nice.
Yeah. And how was your pandemic experience? What was that like over in Virginia where you were?
It honestly wasn't that fun. I imagine most people's not that fun. I worked in a sandwich shop, and we had a staff of about 15 people. And then once the United States kind of had their shutdown, our staff got reduced to 3 people, including me. So we were running the store, it was 3 people running an entire store, 7 days a week. And there was not many off days, unfortunately, but at that time I was just thankful to, have a job and be able to, continue to support myself and whatnot. So it was kind of rough. But I think we had some good like lyrics and music kind of come out of it, and it was a good time for self-reflection too, just to kind of think about when you're in isolation like that and stuff, like what do I really want to do, moving forward, and what are some of my goals. And I definitely think it gave time for like some recalibration about like what's important in life, which is not something that I had really been able to give much thought to, just because we had been playing so many different shows, and life moves at like 1,000 miles per second. So it's like I think it was nice to sit down and just like really just take in some different things, which I think was probably the only positive of the whole experience. But definitely gave like kind of a nice reset, I'd say.
Yeah. And were you guys able to hang out together during that time, or were you forced to isolate away from each other?
We occasionally did hang out. Bryce has like has like a I guess a popped lung like in the past, and it's just kind of like autoimmune compromised somewhat. So we didn't really push our luck with it. If we did hang out, it would be like with masks on, or if it was like something that we just absolutely had to do. So at the beginning of it, yeah, we didn't hang out that much, honestly. But as like time has gone on, we've definitely been hanging out a lot more, and just like being around each other in person. So
yeah,
it's been interesting.
Yeah, and as you say, was there much new music written during that time, or was it really a case of just putting things on the back burners until you were able to get back together?
We didn't write a ton. I honestly think everyone kind of just needed a second to reset, just because we had been really pushing like ourselves, like just with jobs, like people were working a lot of hours and stuff. And I think just kind of having that time away to focus on like yourself was kind of nice. So we honestly didn't write that much music at the beginning, just as we were kind of like trying to figure out the environment and everything. And then towards the end of it, once I think everybody kind of figured out some stuff like emotionally and everything, we were able to kind of hash it out. So
yeah. And when did things start reopening for you guys, where you could start doing gigs again?
I think it was towards, let's see here, probably September of 2021. If I remember right, it was really like the first bigger tours. I think the first show I went to back was in October of 2021. We were recording out in LA, actually finishing up the album, and this Australian band Chase Atlantic was playing in town, and I was like, well, I want to go see that. So we went, had to wear masks and everything, which was totally fine. But it was just kind of like an interesting experience for a first show back.
Was it weird for you being in the middle of a crowd of thousands of people again?
Yes. It's almost uncomfortable. I mean, at first, I don't know. It's like, I feel like everyone's kind of developed this like weird, like social anxiety, like kind of or at least over here, just like, don't be around me, or like, don't touch me or something. It's kind of weird. But I stood in the back for that one. So
yeah,
I made a point to not be around too many people.
Yeah, so. It takes time to get back into the mindset of feeling like some sort of normality again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, so obviously the new EP drops very, very shortly. What have you guys got on the other side of that? Have you got a tour lined up?
Yeah. We've been working on a couple different things. We do have like one festival appearance scheduled with Knuckle Puck towards the end of August. That's like up in Michigan. So we'll be having like a tour out that way. And then just continuing to look for cool support opportunities. We have a couple things in the mix for this summer, and then hopefully working our way over to Europe and the UK at some point, hopefully like later in the year, early next year, just kind of seeing where things are at. But just trying to play in front of as many people as possible.
Yeah. Have you guys got across to Europe and the UK before?
We haven't, unfortunately. I myself I've been to like Rome once, but I want to get over to like, England and everything, kind of see what's going on. So looks like a cool time.
Yeah, there's a big audience for pop punk out here, and like it's a slam dunk festival which happens in the UK, north and south. It's packed with bands like yourselves, you know. So yeah, definitely an audience for you guys over here.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, a couple of our friends have played over for Slam Dunk, and the pictures and videos always look so wild. It looks like kind of like the old Warped Tour over here, except like way more people are at it because it's condensed. So looks pretty sick.
Yeah. Well, looks. Thanks again. As I said before, TellTale dropped their new EP, Lie Your Way Out, March 25th, courtesy of Rude Records. Tim Fogg.